Christian Buckley and the founder of Collab Talk, and I'm here with Karuana Gatimu. Hello.
Hello. How are you, Christian?
I'm doing well.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, why don't you talk? You've just had, again, another role change. Why don't you share that?
Yes. You know, it's exciting working inside of Microsoft and getting an opportunity to really work on what you love and do meaningful work. So I am a program manager inside the Microsoft Teams engineering group. And I'm accountable for all patterns and practices for the product. So how do people get value out of Microsoft Teams across various industries? I'm in charge of our adoption framework and then all of the work that we do in fast track for customers to onboard to the product. So
now you were, just so everyone knows too, if those that aren't familiar with Karuana's background, and so you have a background with SharePoint and of course collaboration platforms going back many years. And Karuana was also the lead of the was it just the Los Angeles SharePoint user group, the LA Spug. And she and I launched the SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles event and did a bunch of other things together. So we've known each other for a number of years. But since you joined Microsoft, I mean, so you helped shape a lot of what the Fast Track program was. I'm trying to remember, was it about that time when you joined when they were starting to put together Fast Track as it exists today?
Yeah, I've always been passionate about the practical aspects of leveraging technology. Theory is a wonderful thing, but I'm really into the actual, execution of things, and Fast Track is all about that. So I had an opportunity to give some feedback there. There's a lot of really smart people who work on that program. I don't want to take any credit where credit's not due,
Sure.
But it was wonderful to work with those folks as Fast Track was being built. And now I've kind of come full circle. I was working in Microsoft IT, running cloud services, SharePoint, and I did a lot of work on Skype at Microsoft and things of that nature. And now I've moved over into the product group, and now I get to work with Fast Track again to deepen that framework so that people can really use it to onboard to Teams as well as all the other components of Microsoft 365. So I feel like there's this kind of universal flow happening in terms of my background and the things I get to work on here. And it's actually one of the reasons I love working inside of Microsoft.
Well, I mean, it's the evolution of the various technology components and how they're coming together, which is really kind of like what we're wanting to talk about here is, so I keynoted in May, it was the Digital Workplace Conference in Auckland, New Zealand. And then this last month I did the same event over in Sydney for Australia. And it was around change and change management and cultural change and making lasting impact there. And here's a fundamental difference in when you're looking at a single technology, even something complex like SharePoint. You look at the software and you say, look, it does and doesn't do certain things. And so to go and build guidance around that and to build expertise around a single tool or platform is fairly straightforward. One of the more difficult aspects of Teams is that Teams allows you to surface all of these other capabilities and third-party solutions and services, web-based services, and all these kinds of things. And so, while there's the technology platform side of it, and building your expertise in what Teams can and cannot do. But then there's also the other problem, which is more of the business analyst, business user problem, which is how to then best leverage that technology.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's one of the reasons why I love working in the Microsoft Teams team. All of us here are very passionate.
The team squad.
Yeah, right. The team squad, right. Brian McDonald's organization. Brian McDonald's is a fantastic leader, and he has a long history here of doing innovative things at Microsoft. So it's an honor to get to work with him. And I know, he infuses throughout our organization the focus on the fact that we're driving cultural change as much as providing these tools and capabilities to businesses. And I love the fact that, as we release at Microsoft Ignite, some additional adoption guidance, I'm really looking at it not just from that technology, that practical guidance section, but also formalizing that capability to be good at change management inside an organization. There's a lot of great research. It just needs to be kind of codified. And so I'll have a session on that at Ignite and also highlighting some great customers who have brought their programs to share with others. But I also have another session there because we'll be releasing an adoption specialist certification.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal for me. It's something I'm deeply passionate about, driving a certification, because understanding the psychology of cultural change is more than understanding the features and capabilities of a particular tool. And, these kinds of soft skills merged together with technology capabilities is what makes a great adoption specialist. And so I have
what resonates with me on that concept is that that's kind of like the customer success manager,
right?
The role that was at Yammer and came over and I think there were some people that were disappointed that program was cut and some of the people released to industry and others changed their roles there. I mean, but that model as it existed didn't fit Microsoft as a technology provider, as a software company's model to go and do that. But it's still that role, that focus is necessary. And I know now that there are MSPs and CSPs, so managed service providers and cloud solution providers that are, that need to have that kind of certification, that kind of expertise to play that community management, best practices, get organizations up and running and really understand, the possibilities of this and then how to make that permanent change.
That's right. And what's wonderful about Microsoft is I have the opportunity to say, hey, what is our standard for that role in Microsoft Teams, right? What is our actual standard for what it takes to drive change, to work with change managers? I think that the CSM roles, they were fantastic. I really appreciated them in the Yammer space. I was involved in the launch of Yammer and Power BI and SharePoint Online and Office 365 groups. I've had an opportunity here to work on all of these new product launches. And one thing that I've learned over and over is that ability to talk to change managers or to build a change management skill within a customer is critical to the usage and adoption of any product that you're launching. And as far as I'm concerned, that could be a custom line of business application, and there's a small, medium, and large way to approach this depending on your size and the size of the change in the organization that the tool requires. So really giving people this ability to kind of take these recipes and apply them to the different kinds of things that they want to do, I feel like is going to be a great step forward. I also think that maybe the CSMs are here ahead of their time a little bit.
I agree.
We've learned so much as a company about what it takes to truly drive adoption of cloud services. And I think that this speaks to our own digital transformation. Satya talked about releasing his book that is going to be available, Hit Refresh. And part of what he's been doing is really driving forward to us our accountability to change the culture and to be a different Microsoft and to move ourselves forward. And so it's so exciting to be here at this time, to be in the middle of such a huge change transformation, to be able to share that with customers, to be able to help them empower themselves. I wrote a blog post just recently about doing meaningful work. It's out on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And, I feel really strongly about people being able to do meaningful work in their own organization. And all this change that we're going through is an opportunity for all of us to embrace that and find what that meaningful work means to you. And I'm just lucky that I got to find it here with Microsoft Teams. So,
well, I mean, if you look at the high performers, and one of just that whole model, however you define that, the high performers is that they're generally doing work that they're passionate about, that they enjoy doing, and
we're engaged.
Best work when you're right when you like what you're doing. It's you generally do more of it, and I'm just thinking there's one of my favorite books, and I would always give it to my employees. In fact, just gave one out the other day, but is the First Break All the Rules by Marcus Buckingham. And there's a co-author, but everybody just remembers Marcus. But is that concept of understanding the skills of your team and how to leverage the things that they do best, and then to structure and build teams around what things are good at. And in some respects, I mean, Teams supports that model.
Yes, it does.
Finding what those things are. And actually, the way that I've described it, and this is in a pending blog post, by the way, for redmondmag.com, but we're talking about how GigJam was shut down. And I always describe this as Gig Jam to me. When I saw that demo a couple years ago, Julia White gave on stage. It was part of the keynote at WPC. Was that it was almost like NASA putting a man on the moon, and you're like, how does that affect my day to day? It's like it doesn't. However, the ecosystem that's built, the innovation that came out of the fact that we were trying to, humankind was trying to put this a being on the moon, and everything that came out of that benefits our lives. And I can see aspects of what was demonstrated in that demo in the conversations, the pieces that I see now in Teams and with the bots and connectors, and doing it in a secure way that still the right people in the right place, that there's not just content that's then added to yet another library or system that you may have taken very secured content and put it into now an open, unsecure place. It's a different approach to that we've been able to leverage kind of the learnings from that. And it's, again, speaks to that change, that evolution of collaboration in general, but certainly around the platform.
Yes, I absolutely agree. One of the other changes that we've seen here at Microsoft, and I think Microsoft Teams is the poster child for this, is the cross-organizational collaboration that's happening. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that the Microsoft of 10 years ago, before I joined, could not have brought to market, especially not so rapidly, a product like Teams that leverages components from so many other places in the organization. I don't think we had the organizational capability to do that. And what's been fantastic about the shift in the company is that cross-organizational collaboration is so encouraged, and it's becoming a natural part of the way that we're working. I'm not saying, it's not all roses and rainbows, I'm not saying that it's that, but at the same time, I've been present for the shift in this company. And that is based on change management principles, all the way from Satya down to each individual developer and marketing person and program manager is beginning to understand. And I think that also speaks to the fact that in every organization, when you introduce something like Microsoft Teams, it's really important to understand that change curve. Right? People are always going to go through a sense of loss of what they have, what they're giving up before they embrace the new thing. And as a leader, I feel accountable to helping people through that learning curve and through that emotional curve with empathy, with actionable guidance, and with tooling where they can feel empowered themselves. What a cool way to be able to do that now with a product that's actually built on those ideas.
Right.
Now SharePoint was as well before that, right? And SharePoint, very near and dear to my heart. I worked there for a very long time. Definitely was a collaboration tool that also drove this cultural change, but it stood alongside of many other things, right? And so the thing I love about Teams is bringing those things together to have that center of gravity really be shifted for the user, so that the user can clearly see, what is different. One of the things I love too about Microsoft Teams and how it's enabling this cultural transformation is the mobile application, right? I don't know about you, but for me, if I can't get it done on my phone, often it doesn't get done until very late at night,
right.
Early in the morning, or maybe not at all, And so my phone is very much the center of my day-to-day work life. And I love the Teams experience on that phone, especially with persistent chat. And then I can use that instead of texting people,
right.
Which takes it out of the context of all my.
Right. And then it's just another disparate system that you have to go and find, like, what were we talking about? What was that? And, how do we share? And so putting it all in context. Right. And I think that just the evolution of the mobility solutions as well is it used to be that, basically trying to, it's not just going into a browser and opening up a website to get to the full features, but to say what is really necessary, needed for us to be able to function through this application. And so it's not to say that they're watered down versions of it, because I would say that the modern mobility apps for across the Microsoft suite, and there are a lot of tools, and I use 2 or 3 of them, but every day. Teams is one of those for exactly that same reason. Is it allows me, since I launched my company January 1st, I said we're going to build this on Teams, And so I've got it set up that way. And so, and I'm actually doing a training with an employee this afternoon on Teams and going through and, kind of the latest things and as part of that onboarding process. But I'm, to get those alerts and to go in and look at, follow up on those continued conversations. And it's kind of like those futuristic future of what we call the Microsoft, the future household where the guy's on his, it just looks like a piece of glass and
Right.
the interface comes up and he swipes it, flicks it, and it shows up on the wall. And it's then in the bathroom on the, anyway, there's a lot.
Yeah, but something,
there's other issues around that, but we're close
right.
to that experience.
But we're getting really close, and I agree with that, right? I mean, look, I'm an old sci-fi freak, right? I grew up on science fiction and, superheroes and, the ability to build things that I wanted to build. I was a Lego fanatic. And so, all of those things are coming together now in this digital transformation and coming into reality. And, this is one of the conversations that we have quite often. I run a women's leadership community inside Microsoft. And I gave a talk actually recently about empowering female leadership. And part of it is about owning the narrative and bringing the natural talents you have to bear in your career. I don't have to try to be great at what every other gentleman is great at inside of Microsoft. I need to be really good at what I am really good at. And I think a lot of times, we don't embrace those different skills within the technology industry.
Which is why I went back to that Marcus Buckingham, because that's exactly the point, right?
Exactly. And so what's happening now is that ability to have empathy for the user journey, the customer journey, have empathy for these change management curves, bringing in, a more diverse perspective when you're making these business decisions about driving adoption and what are the real business priorities, along with your ability to drive technical capabilities. This is a sweet spot for many of us who have been in this business a long time. And so I feel like by being able to codify those skills in an adoption specialist certification, by showing ongoing examples of what this means, in the real world, we can make that connection and also provide an awful lot of opportunity for many of the women in technology who I personally know are already doing this. Right. And I feel like, now is our time. I've never been more excited about being in the technology business. And I came very close to leaving, as many, women at my level in technology do. And the reason that we drop out is often because we don't have a space to be able to find that meaning and show up in our organic ways without feeling like we're constantly having to somehow limit ourselves to fit into the status quo. Microsoft Teams, culturally as a business group inside of Microsoft, gives us the ability to really shine. And I feel like organizations who embrace that, who embrace this future state and deeper collaboration and helping people find meaning in their work, are going to see the financial benefits. There's a ton of research around that. There's some links in that blog post that I wrote about doing meaningful work that talk about engaged employees and the profits that come from that. So this isn't just about doing the right thing for people. It's also about doing the right thing for your business.
Right. That is an excellent way to describe that by supporting these other, again, disparate tools, other systems, other workloads, even within the Office 365 world.
Yeah.
Even be able to support those things in context of that project, that team, that business unit, however you structure your teams. It will increase engagement, the level of the people going there for that. And you're exactly right. It's simple logic that the more people participating in the system, then the more benefits that can be achieved within that system. If you've got 100 people in an organization and only 20% of them, 20 of them are collaborating actively, then you've got the really the resources, the wisdom of that 20-person crowd. If you have 80, 85 of them participating, how much more have you going to be able to benefit and innovate off of those collaborations? It's the networking effect that happens when more people are in that system.
Yeah. And, one of the things that happens too, as I teach this deepened and broadened adoption framework, one of the things that I always want to talk about too is not only owning your own talents, bringing your own skills to this area, but also to embrace dissent. There's so much to be learned from people who don't want to use or do the thing that you were trying to evangelize. And many of us tend to shy away from that because it smells like conflict, and we don't know how to effectively embrace conflict as a part of change. I feel like in many areas of our culture today, we need to get better at this. How do we embrace conflict and dissent from a compassionate perspective that allows us to get the knowledge that's coming from those folks? There's a reason. Very rarely do I run across an individual who just is so stubborn that they just don't want to do anything but send email and only do that from their desktop. Right? If that does happen, but often there's something else, right? And you have to build the communication skills and understand how to really talk with these folks to figure out what is driving them, what is their motivations, what is their journey like. So I really want to encourage people out there to embrace those folks and make them an active part of your stakeholder community, no matter what kind of change you're driving. I mean, obviously I want you to use Microsoft Teams. I want people to use that, right? But I'm more interested in creating an industry of people who understand how to drive change in an effective manner, no matter what the technology is, because I also feel that these skills translate to many other areas of life. Right. And we need a little more conflict resolution, and we need a little more skill about embracing dissent in our culture, and I feel around the world. And this is an opportunity for us to all practice that in something, that is a little less, high intensity.
Right. Well, one of the things I really liked about when Satya did his first keynote at that WPC, he talked about, and it was a great speech, and I've actually interacted with him a couple times when I was an employee, and I know it's easy to say this now. He was always like, well, he was like my dark horse pick for CEO back in the day. But anyway, because I was over in advertising operations for a couple of years, so interacted through the Bing stuff and the all that world. But he came out and he talked about transforming collaboration and transforming productivity, and that's where his first, where he kind of laid it out, and it was great, broad themes around that. And what and I think even at the time, a lot of people said, like, that was a great speech, and now it's going to be a matter of executing against that vision of right. Changing things. But there's a key part of a point that he made a bunch of times in that, which I think touches on that. The old Microsoft could not have developed this platform, is he talked about looking at product and features through the eyes of the customer and thinking about the end-to-end aspect of it. And how that has been missing for most of Microsoft's history. Right. I remember sitting over in Building 99 and the R&D team, and they would bring in guest speakers and different events and things over there. And I went to some of these kind of showcase events where some of these R&D teams that have been working, some of them for years on different technologies, and present, hey, look at this. And people would ask questions, and it was a full audience, 150, 200 people sitting there in this room. People would ask, like, are you aware of something very similar that's being developed over by the Office group over on this side? And you get the pause, and then no, I wasn't aware of that. It's like,
that's right. And something what's funny about that is that's absolutely true. And, I come from the partner universe. I worked at professional services and system integrators for a long time before I came inside of Microsoft. I literally made my living out of connecting the dots between products that had never thought about each other before. I literally made my living by taking this theoretical document about how you implement something and turning it into something that could actually be implemented.
Right.
I'm not dissing the folks who were doing that work before, but that's how I paid my mortgage.
Right.
Now what I get to do is say, okay, great. We actually have something that is already integrated that has that customer outside in perspective. But we still have another ways to go to help people get from these theories that we're talking about here into actual implementation in their organization. And that's what this deepening of this adoption framework is really about. I feel very strong when I do my women's leadership work. Every event that I do has to have actionable guidance in it. You have to walk away with something you can do. And that's a theme in my work and many other people here now, is that it's great to have that theory, and R&D has its place. But I live in the intersection of product truth and customer need. And bringing those two things together is why I get up in the morning and what I'm deeply passionate about. And that's shared by many people here now, as you can see through our use of user voice, really being more interactive with our customers, getting them to vote up features. That's
the tech community conversation as well. I mean, we need more people over there, but that's the day-to-day conversations. It's great when you identify, hey, there's a feature that's missing that I need to have for our business for us to be able to move off of this competing platform and really, user voice, go and upload those things. But the Microsoft tech community is the day-to-day, and I completely agree. Like, I've been in the space long, and I've been working officially with Microsoft since 2005.
Wow.
The change that's happened in that time frame and the responsiveness of the product teams. And I know how it works, how people are measured inside, as being a people manager while I was there as well, and the commitments that you're held to as employees. And a big piece of that now is the responsiveness in the community in your respective area.
That's
it is so critical.
It's huge. And, I think we all understood when the way we were measured changed as Microsoft employees, how committed Satya was to the transformation of our organization. And then you have leaders like Brian McDonald, who come along and they take a core group of people to really re-envision a space. They push very hard. They launch something that's fantastic, in a very short period of time. To launch a, first tier member of Office 365 in the period of time that this team did it is amazing. And, getting to join in on that journey, before preview and as we went into general availability, really it's one of the turning points in my career. And I just know that other people can get such a benefit out of this when they can see it through the eyes of their own journey, right? They need to see it see our transformation and our tools through the eyes of their own business and professional journey. And, we're here to help, right? I mean, at the end of the day, helping, empowering every organization and person on the planet to achieve more. That's not just slagware here at Microsoft. That's our company mission. That's why I show up at work. I know the work I am doing actually contributes to that in a meaningful and measurable way. And, I just think that everybody should have that kind of opportunity. And I know that the implementation of something like Teams and the continuing features and innovations that we're doing is going to help people to do that. So, I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm pretty rah-rah if you haven't noticed. But, it makes me feel good. And I've stopped, apologizing for my enthusiasm and my passion because I love this space and I really love the people in it. I've known you forever, Christian, and, everyone I've met along this journey in the collaboration space, they've been such open, welcoming folks. And
wow, collaboration people are collaborative and open? Wow.
Who would have thought, right? It's fantastic. Right. And I just love the culture that we're trying to drive forward. So, it's just a great time. And, but please do, folks who are watching this, please do come to my adoption session at Ignite. We're going to be publishing those materials. Check out Success with Teams. And there is an adoption community on the Microsoft technical communities that is going to be the center of gravity for all of my publishing in this area. You'll start to see my work out there as we run up to the release of the adoption specialist certification before the end of this calendar year. So it's really exciting over here right now. And I appreciate the time to get to share this all with you and all your
And of course, if you're watching this, listen to this, after Ignite 2017, you can still go find those resources, find a lot of that content and links out on Microsoft Tech Community. Definitely go and take a look there. Karuana, what's the best way if people want to get in touch with you? How can they follow you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can absolutely follow me on Twitter. My handle is my first name, Karuana. Follow me out there or post a question to me in the adoption community on the Microsoft technical communities. I'm also always around on the Microsoft Teams technical community as well. So you can find me if you hunt for me, and I will be out there. Happy to answer a question.
Well, maybe we'll see you in the, I'll be spending a lot of time in the community hub there at Ignite. But if, I'm sure we'll see each other in passing again. But again, if you've got time, would love to come, let's do a quick snapshot into another topic area. Always enjoy talking to you, and
thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I know the downside to liking what you do is that we work longer hours, and I know that's true about you as well. So
yes, you can ask my husband about that. Yeah, he's definitely he definitely knows that that he's important, and I try to embrace that work-life balance. But I do love what I do, so to me, it's not a job. So,
right.
all right, thank you so much, Christian. I'll see you at Ignite and see you online.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye bye.